Senator Murphy, Senator Capito, Senator Sheehan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today and for your service. I wanted to spend my time trying to dig into the details of our Air Force One program. If the facts are as I understand it, this looks like one of the bigger wastes of money inside your budget, but it also presents some real ethical and moral problems, I think, for this committee. So, Mr. Secretary, if I can just sort of understand what's happening here, because obviously the facts have been changing pretty quickly over the last 5 months. We obviously have this very big $4 billion contract with Boeing, and they are building 2 planes to replace the current Air Force One. You testified in the House earlier that you believe those planes are on track to be ready by 2028. Is that still your estimate?
Senator, we are looking at whether or not we can accelerate the delivery to 28. That was not where it originally was. We are looking to move that forward.
And what's your understanding of the transfer of the Qatari jet? When Secretary Hegseth was before this committee, he said that the MOU had not been signed, but there's also been public reporting that we're in possession of the airplane.
Senator, I can't speak to the details of where the MOU is in its process. I would say is we are the Air Force's Department of Air Force's position to take possession of that airplane and execute the required modifications to allow it to act as an interim aircraft until we get the B-25s or the 25Bs. We're happy to discuss actually the details of that, but we'll have to do it at a higher classification.
And I understand the details of these agreements are classified, but whether or not they exist, I do not think need to be classified. So do you have a contract yet for the retrofit of the Qatari plane?
We have, I'm not sure if we actually have finally signed the contract, but we have discussed it with the contractor. We are in position, or we are in a position to execute that once we take possession of the aircraft. I don't know, General, if you know the actual state of the contract. We're positioned to start executing as soon as you take possession of the aircraft, though.
You've testified that may be in the neighborhood of $400 million. That sounds just quite honestly wildly rosy to me. From what I understand from folks who do this kind of work, that could ultimately be a contract closer to $1 billion. But confirm what the number you think is, and when do you think the retrofit would be done?
So this is my comment earlier, is that the specifics of those numbers, what those numbers mean, relate to the actual specific modifications and what we're doing with the aircraft, and that needs to be done at a higher classification.
And what's the date you think that retrofit would be done?
We expect it'll take us just short of a year.
Just short of a year. So you don't have the contract yet. The work's going to take a year. That sounds like this plane is going to be ready sometime at the end of 2026, and then you've got the Boeing planes ready a year later. So we're going to spend somewhere between $400 million and $1 billion to get a bridge plane that only lasts 1 year or 1.5 years.
So, Senator, we are positioned to deliver the aircraft a year after we take possession. Again, the 25B date is 28. Probably at the earliest, so it would be more than a year, Senator.
And your understanding is that this plane, when the Boeings are ready, will go to President Trump's personal possession?
I couldn't speak to that, Senator.
Can you commit that they will not ultimately end up in President Trump's personal possession?
So, Senator, I couldn't speak to that, and I'm fairly certain that's not in my authority.
Well, but isn't that relevant to the committee? Isn't it relevant as to whether we want to spend $400 million to $1 billion? If the plane only is in the U.S. possession for a year and then it becomes President Trump's personal possession, that doesn't sound like a great use of my taxpayer dollars. Isn't that a really important, relevant question? Wouldn't that matter to you?
Well, Senator, I can just speak what I've been asked to do and what we signed up to do, which is the current 25 is challenged from a readiness perspective. very challenged. It's a very old aircraft. The 25Bs are going to show up later than we'd initially hoped for, and I've been asked to modify this aircraft as soon as we get possession of it, and we are positioned to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.